What's up, E.D.G family? Kevin here, and today we're going to be talking solo and cooperative games. We're going to be talking games that you can play solo or cooperative. They're going to be games out of my collection. We're going to be talking 8 of them. So by no means is this going to be a huge list of all these solo and cooperative games out there. There's obviously going to be some games I don't have. I would like to mention, a couple I'm interested in adding to what I think would qualify for this list. Viticulture Worlds, Spirit Island, and then I have 3 that are on the way. Like Unsettled would be a good one to talk about on this list. Tidal Blades Part 2, I'm excited for that one to come in. And Race for the Raft, I think that would also be a game that would qualify for this list, but they're going to be games that you could play cooperative and solo. I'm going to be talking about maybe which way I lean towards on each game, whether it's I prefer cooperative or solo. But at the very least, hopefully this will be a good idea of maybe some cooperative or solo games maybe you haven't played. We'll talk about those a little bit, and we'll get to it. Alright, so I got 8 different solo cooperative games. I think this pretty much is only one that I feel like is probably goes beyond that. But we'll talk about these. These are the 8 solo cooperative games that I've played the most out of in my collection. Absolutely. Some of them I obviously prefer more in a co-op fashion. Some of them I prefer in a solo fashion. And we're going to talk about those. So, like I said, at the very least, hopefully this gives you some ideas if you're looking for a solo or cooperative game. You maybe had an eye on a couple of these. Maybe you'll know where I lean, and you'll kind of make a decision on that. But they're all very good games. All very good games. All of these are pretty high up in my collection, I would say. Some newer than others, but we'll talk about those. We'll do these in no specific order. And I'm going to talk about Aeon's In first. I've talked quite a bit about Aeon's In the last couple months. We've had Astronauts come in. Obviously, I'll probably do a full comparison video once I feel like I've fully explored Astronauts. But we're talking about Aeon's In, which I have played a lot more. A lot solo, a lot cooperative. And this is one that I've definitely played a little bit more solo than cooperative. But when it comes down to this game, I think I prefer it as a cooperative. I think having multiple mages to do different abilities just works better when you have somebody else. I played this two-handed, and it's fine. But I will tell you something about me. I generally prefer any kind of hand management, deck building, stuff like that. I kind of like to focus more on one at a time. And we'll talk about, all these do a little bit different things when it comes to playing two-handed. But this is one that I definitely think I prefer to play with somebody else. I played quite a few games with my wife, played quite a few games solo, but I definitely lean more towards that. Just the abilities that some of these characters do, some of the synergies they do, they just work better with another person. Like I said, I don't know as far as Astronauts where I'm going to land on that one, but we'll explore that one as we go. But this is Aeon's In. Very good deck building game. Really like it. Do have a playthrough up on it. And like I said, Astronauts, very similar. So if you're interested in a deck builder, definitely go check out those videos. And we'll talk about Elder Sign next. Elder Sign is a game I haven't played for a minute. I haven't. This has kind of been lost in the shuffle. This is a game, I would say this is probably like maybe the 4th or 5th cooperative I really got into. And I like it. It's pretty fun. It's my only Cthulhu game. But I will say, as far as this goes, the dice rolling mechanics, the Yahtzee system, remove a dice, re-roll dice, I like this better as a cooperative as well. It's not intriguing enough for me to really explore solo. Yeah, the games are definitely, I wouldn't say they're faster. I would say these generally, obviously you get to a higher player count, they're going to be slower. But as like a 2-player game, it plays pretty similar to what you would get with a solo game because you kind of have to do about the same amount of things in order to win the game. But I would say, definitely a good cooperative, easy to teach people. Nothing that's too over the top, nothing crazy mechanically that I don't think a lot of people would pick up on. Just, very, I wouldn't say it's an intro cooperative, but I would say it's, intro medium weight cooperative. Like Elder Sign, definitely like playing it more in a group, like the flexibility if you needed to play up to 8 players. I wouldn't do it with this game, but you could. And that's Elder Sign. Let's talk about Bullet next. This is the one that kind of fits a lot of different categories. A lot of the reason I really enjoy Bullet is because it has so much flexibility with what you can do with this game. You can play solo, score attack, get it out, play a quick game, get it back in the box. You could play a 2-player dueling game where you're passing bullets back and forth between each other. My daughter and I do that quite a bit. You can play this in a larger group. You could play this in the regular box, you can play up to 4. If you have both boxes, which I do, you could actually play this up to 8. Remember when I was saying I wouldn't play Elder Sign 8-player? That'd be a cooperative 8-player. This would not be a cooperative 8-player, but I would prefer to play this in an 8-player count before I would prefer to play that in an 8-player count. No doubt about that. But what you can do is all of the characters have a double-sided sheet. You can play them as a boss or you can play them as a hero. And so it gives you a bunch of different puzzles you can play. And you can play the cooperative version up to 4 players. I haven't. I played it up to 3. And I think even at 2 is probably maybe the sweet spot for the boss mode. But that said, I think where this sits for me is I really like it in a solo nature. I like being able to get this game out, figure out, the character puzzle, the boss puzzle, however you want to play this. It says it plays at 15 minutes, maybe start to finish without setup. I like being able to get it out, get it to the table, play it, get it back in the box. That's kind of the role this game has been for me. It's quick, it's pretty easy to learn. Like I said, very, very flexible, but as far as this one goes, I really just like exploring all the different characters, all the different bosses in a solo nature, and a quick, easy, like I said, almost kind of a filler game for me, but only a 30-minute filler game for me. Really, really like Bullet. Really cannot recommend this game enough. Alright, let's, I guess we'll shift over here. We're going to talk some Too Many Bones. And I don't want to get too off on a tangent. We've done a ton of unboxings recently on the new stuff. I've got a playthrough. Want to get another playthrough. Want to dive back into Undertow specifically. But we're talking the whole franchise. I didn't want to set the trove chest out. That would have been fun. So we're talking Undertow. We're talking Too Many Bones. We're talking cooperative versus solo. I will tell you, this is a game I have played more than any other game in my collection. Very, very much so. Especially time-wise. And I will say, I love this game solo, and I love this game cooperative. It is definitely one that fits both. It was very hard for me to kind of look at this game and say, I like it one way or the other. I really had to think about it, because I have played quite a few games 2-player. I have played a few games 3-player. I think I've played even a couple 4-player games. But I've still probably played this the most solo. And really, to be honest, I think the only way you're ever going to get everything out of Too Many Bones, there's a lot of content, but you can't really get everything out of Too Many Bones unless you play this game solo as well. I mean, there are solo encounter cards specific for a solo player. That is the design, that is the intent of those cards. I don't know if you could probably use the same cards just to freshen them up and play at like a 2-player account. I haven't tried that. But definitely I feel like if you're a Too Many Bones player and you want to get the most out of this game, you're going to have to play it quite a bit solo. And like I said, I really do enjoy this at a 2-player account. I think it's fantastic. Even 3-player account has some challenges, you get a different mixture of threats as far as different baddies and stuff coming out. But for this one, I got to go solo. I got to say, Too Many Bones wouldn't be the game it was to me if I couldn't play this game solo. I don't even know if I would necessarily rank it as high as I do if I didn't solo it, and I play this 2-handed quite a bit. I will hopefully do that in the future for a playthrough. But yeah, Too Many Bones. I'd go solo. I love this cooperative. This is probably the tightest game in my collection to make this decision on. There's one other one that's pretty close, and we'll talk about that coming up. But yeah, Too Many Bones. The next one I want to talk about is Zombicide. Zombicide Invader specifically, this is a very short conversation for me. This is probably on the... I like this game, but it's not quite as high as some of these on my list. But Zombicide is a game I would have to say 100% I prefer this to play cooperatively. I don't want a 6-hand, 6 characters. I mean, I've done it several times. But I will say, playing this at a 2 or 3-player account is my preferred way. I'd rather play, handle 2 characters or 3 characters. Going through some of these missions on this game. I liked it enough to get Black Ops. This is the Black Ops box. But This is a game that I don't know. I have played it quite a bit solo. I went through, I think, both campaigns, the original and the Black Ops solo, but there's just something about it. I prefer to play this with people. It seems to be more of a cooperative game for me than a solo. You could solo it, and I know a lot of people do, but that's kind of where I stand on Zombicide. Prefer to play it kind of in a fun little cooperative situation, and that is Zombicide. Invader. We're down to 3 though. We're down to 3. And we will talk about the next one that is probably was the hardest one for me to make a decision on. Power Rangers, this is Rise of the Psycho Rangers, but this is part of the Heroes of the Grid game by Renegade Games. So, I like this game quite a bit. I think the biggest draw for this game for me isn't the miniatures, but it's kind of the card combinations. Playing this solo, you can play 3 players, have a solo mode. I haven't really dug into that. I've played it a couple times, and the reason I'm not sold on it is because I kind of like mixing the decks together. I like playing 2 characters, 2-handed, with combined decks from 2 Rangers. So you have a total of 4, but kind of they move together. So it's kind of like you're just playing 2 decks. I like shuffling the decks. I like seeing what Rangers synergize really well with each other. And I know you can obviously do that, you know, split-handedly. But I just feel like it's a little bit more to manage in a solo situation. So that said, even though I have completely dived into this solo, I do it all the time. Like I said, love combining the decks. Love figuring out which ones synergize really well together. I prefer this cooperatively. I do. I prefer to play this with, you know, 3 or 4 players probably. I like seeing a bunch of different Rangers out there. I like to, you know, do the same things I do in a solo game, having that many different combinations of cards going out. But I definitely prefer this a little bit more cooperatively, even though I have dived into this so much more solo than I have cooperatively. And it's designed to play cooperatively, so I get it. I hopefully will get a true solo play as far as the solo mode. They have a scenario for that. They have a bunch of scenarios. That's the other thing. This game stays fresh. This has got a bunch of different scenarios Renegade puts out every month. They had a Halloween one. Really got the girls at home to get into that. We do that every year now. You know, we pick different Rangers, play different. We play the same scenario, but it always feels a little different. We had different foot soldiers, whatnot, spice it up. But definitely like me some Heroes of the Grid. Just kind of prefer it a little bit more cooperatively than I do solo most of the time. All right, which one's it gonna be? B before D, so we're gonna talk some Burncycle. We're talking Burncycle. This is a game that I have not got to the channel yet. It's a big game, so anybody that has Burncycle understandably knows my limitations to get a big game like this tabled for you guys and do it well. But I will have some content coming up. I did back all of the new Burncycle expansions, so we'll hopefully see that sometime midsummer, and then that'll get me hopefully to get this figured out. We'll get this to the table. That said, I have played this predominantly solo. I have played this a few times at a 2-player count. Nothing higher than that, and I don't know if I necessarily would. I would probably try 3 in the right situation, but I will go back and say I definitely prefer this game solo. This game can run a little long. There's a bunch of different missions. They kind of range on length of game from 1 level mission, one floor mission, up to a 3 floor. And I'll tell you right now, I don't see myself getting too many 3-floor missions played at a 2 or 3 player count. Those are definitely going to be content I dive into solo. I don't have any problem playing it too. Like I said, enjoyed both of the plays I played at a 2-player count. But I have explored this game predominantly solo. Really enjoy it. Tons of different characters, a lot of variety. I'm really excited to see what some of the new content brings. But Burncycle, I gotta go with solo on this one. It's a fun game, but it'll run long if you start adding a bunch of players and adding a bunch of floors. So I will definitely say that. Plus, I kind of like trying to figure out the puzzle myself. There's a kind of a movement puzzle and action puzzle to this game, and I really like that brain burn. We're going to talk about this last. This one is, well, interesting conversation for me. Dice Start Adventures was one of the first games I ever backed on Kickstarter. Was not the first, but it was up there. I bought this game specifically to get a cooperative dungeon crawl. I'd played, you know, Pandemic, Forbidden Island, some of the cooperative tiny epics at the time, and also Elder Sign. But this one, I saw it. I loved the idea of the exploration, the dice battling. I had not played Dice Throne at the time, so in order to back this, I went and picked up some of the small box Dice Thrones. Liked the game. Thought, hey, this might be fun in a cooperative solo dungeon crawl experience. Backed it. And I will say, I do like Dice Throne Adventures, but I will say I prefer to roll through Dice Throne Adventures solo. Absolutely. I think as far as maybe like a 3 or 4 player game of Dice Throne goes, I'd much rather just play the dueling game. 2 player, I can make an argument for getting Dice Throne Adventures played at a 2 player count. It's kind of a very difficult game, and I do think it gets a little long sometimes. So I like to do that myself. I like to pull, do some one-off dungeon crawls with specific characters, see which ones play the best. I think the only campaign I have actually completed with this game was a solo campaign. So that said, I will definitely say solo on this one, but I have played it at a 3 player count. My daughter and my wife like to play this every once in a while, so I will do that. I don't dislike it. I just think as far as where this game really shines as at a solo level, because you can't play Dice Throne at a solo level. You can play Dice Throne at a 2 player level, 3 player level, 4 player level. But this is the only thing you need to be able to get Dice Throne to the table by yourself. So I will go solo with Dice Throne Adventures. And, I do enjoy it. But yeah, that is 8 games in my collection that you can solo or play cooperatively. Hopefully that kind of told you, if you're leaning on a couple of those, which ones maybe you should lean harder on. Really enjoy it. Like I said, I got more stuff coming in as far as this goes, so I didn't want to do a top 10 solo, top 10 cooperative. I don't think we're quite there yet. I wouldn't want to do it at this point anyways, because like I said, I have 3 really good solo/cooperatives coming in at some point this year, and we'll definitely unbox those, check those out, get them played on the channel. I hope this was enjoyable, and until next time, much love.